Just ahead on American Black Journal, a look at the efforts to combat sickle cell disease. We'll talk about the myths, the facts, and treatment for this chronic illness. Plus, Pontiac's mayor is here to talk about the changes taking place in that city and a special look at how poverty is often a pathway to prison. American Black Journal starts right now.
American Black Journal is funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first.
At DTE Energy, we believe that we have a greater responsibility. We believe that being part of a community means being involved in the fabric of that community, investing time, effort, and resources in the communities we serve. DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of American Black Journal.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers who are watching. Also me, I'm a father as well, so happy Father's Day to me too. Today is also World Sickle Cell Day. It's a time to educate and increase awareness about this genetic disorder that affects nearly 100,000 Americans. Here are a few facts about sickle cell disease. It is characterized by severe, unpredictable pain. If both parents have sickle cell trait, there's a chance that they can have a baby with the disease. And while the disease primarily affects African Americans and Hispanics, it also occurs in other ethnicities. My guests today are three women on the front lines in the battle against this chronic illness. Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy is board chair of the Sickle Cell Disease Association of America's Michigan chapter. Dr. Wanda Whitten-Shurney, a pediatrician at Children's Hospital of Michigan, heads up the local group. And Anastasia Worthy is youth ambassador for the association. Thank you all for being here on American Black Journal.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So let's start with the fact that this is a disease that I think everyone's heard of,
yes,
and most people have no idea what it is.
Yeah, and Stephen, what I always say is people don't know much about sickle cell disease, and unfortunately, a lot of times what they do know is wrong.
Is wrong.
And we need to correct some of those myths.
All right, so talk about what some of those myths are.
So sickle cell disease is a blood disease. It's a disease of the red blood cells, where the red blood cells take on an unusual shape. They're shaped like a farmer's sickle, and they're hard and they're sticky, and they block blood vessels. So when the blood vessel gets blocked, that stops the flow of oxygen, and that's what causes the hallmark of sickle cell disease, which is pain. Okay, so one of the problems that we're really fighting against is the fact that when our patients go to the emergency room, they're frequently viewed as drug addicts. So the myth is that our patients are drug addicts, and the fact is that they suffer from unpredictable, severe episodes of pain that require strong narcotics.
And people at the hospitals assume they're drug addicts because they're looking for pain relief?
Because they're looking for pain medication. And when they come in, they know the dose of their narcotic, they know which narcotic they want, and those are all the things that, you know, put up a red light, so to speak, in the physician's mind. Oh, this person is drug seeking.
Right.
But we teach them, you know, and they require higher doses of narcotics because they're tolerant, because they've been on the medications for so long.
Yeah. Is this a disease that is at some point going to be curable? I mean,
well, actually, there's another myth. Some people believe that there is a universal cure, but bone marrow transplant, because all of your blood cells come from your bone marrow.
Sure.
So if we take away your bone marrow and give you someone else's, we can cure your sickle cell disease. But unfortunately, you have to match, you know, and so every patient with sickle cell disease doesn't qualify for a bone marrow transplant. And then the other thing is that there are some certain risks associated with the transplant.
Right.
So we always have to weigh the risks against the benefits when we're talking about whether we're going to transplant somebody.
Yeah. Kim and Anastasia, this is a very personal issue for the two of you. Talk about how that works.
In fact, when I discovered that Anastasia had sickle cell disease, the first person I called was Dr. Shurney.
Is that right?
Because we went to Michigan at the same time. And so it's been up and down. She's had more ups than downs, but there have been very, very severe pain episodes. In fact, last year, just a few months ago, she was in the hospital for almost 3 weeks with a very, very severe, more severe than she had ever had before.
Yeah. Anastasia, talk about what that's been like for you.
It's been a struggle, but at the same time, it makes me who I am. It gives me more power and strength to go through my everyday tasks. Obviously, I had to take more precautions, make sure I'm hydrated, eat really healthy and stuff like that, and make sure for at least school to keep up on my schoolwork and such. But at the same time, I think I've gotten used to it, and I think a lot of people think it's a lot worse. But then, like, at the same time, I think of it as just part of me at the same time.
Yeah. How do people react when you tell them that that's what you're struggling with? Do they seem to understand what that means?
Usually people don't really know what the disease is. And then when I explain exactly what it is and how there's different levels of it, there's anemia and then there's the disease, then they understand a little bit more about what I'm going through. And I think they think it's an everyday thing that I go through, like I'm in pain all the time, and I tell them, no, I'm not in pain all the time. I'm a normal person. So.
Yeah.
But oftentimes when she is in pain, she's gotten used to it and she can still, live her daily life.
She has to
She has
to
a function a
sort
lot of times in pain.
Wow.
Not enough
And there's
to
not a way to relieve that pain. I mean, regular pain relief doesn't
Well, if
work
it's too
the
bad, she
same?
has to be hospitalized
Is
like
that
this
right?
last time. But it's at the point now where even morphine doesn't work for her.
Wow.
And so she has to be on stronger medications than that just to control her pain.
Yeah. Talk about that today being.
Okay. Today is World Sickle Cell Day.
Right.
Okay?
What does that mean?
And that means that we want everybody in the world to recognize that we still have a number of challenges to face with this illness. Every baby born in the state of Michigan every baby born in the country is tested for sickle cell disease at birth. And one of the things that happens is when I call the parents in Detroit to tell them that they have a child with sickle cell disease, frequently the mother knew she had sickle cell trait, but the father didn't know. And so it comes as a total shock. And one of our goals is to help people make informed decisions about childbearing. And I always say Kim was really able to do that because she she had a full educational session, so she knew what challenges she was going to face, and she decided that she wanted to take Anastasia. So that worked out really well.
Right. What are some of the things that we're learning about this disease? I would imagine that research and things like that teach us more about.
Yes. One
how
of the
this
things that's
works
happening
and-
is we're getting better and better at bone marrow transplant. And we have one disease-modifying therapy, and that's called hydroxyurea. But unfortunately, a lot of patients are afraid to take it because it's a chemotherapeutic agent, and a lot of doctors are afraid to prescribe it. So we're working on educating both patients and doctors. But the really important thing about June 19th is that we're launching a campaign called High Five for Sickle Cell. Okay, and I'm kind of using the premise that Bernie Sanders and President Obama, you can raise a lot of money just getting a little bit from everybody, because
Right.
everybody's got $5.
Right.
So we want you to give a high five to a friend or hold up a $5 bill and say, I've got 5 for sickle cell, high five, give 5. Take a selfie, put it on your Facebook page, and then go to SCDAAMI and donate that $5 to the Sickle Cell Association, and we will put it to good use.
So just like the other
Yeah, go
challenges
ahead.
you've seen, we hope that this is not only spread education and knowledge about this, but raise a little money too for the causes. And it's for?
It is for client services. And one of the things, because of our patients getting accused of being drug addicts, we would love to open a day treatment center where we can have compassionate nurses that know how to start IVs, that believe the patients are in pain and can give the proper pain medications.
Right.
Because another area of research is proving that the longer you're in pain, the worse your pain gets. Our patients frequently have to wait for hours in the emergency room before they get their first dose of pain medication. So that's
I said in the open that the disease primarily affects African Americans and
Primarily,
Hispanics,
yes.
but that other people can be affected as well. I would imagine that also has something to do with both the lack of education about it, the attention to it, because it's a black disease.
Absolutely.
It's not treated the same as
Yes.
some other
There you
things.
go. That's the truth.
Yeah. How do we change that?
Like this, educating people, and getting people to be more aware and getting people to believe that this is actually a problem and getting people to be knowledgeable before they have a child with sickle cell disease so they know what challenges they're facing. We have a number of federal grants that are helping us to educate people so we can get the proper care.
I mean, is the recommendation that people get tested for this before they decide to have children?
Yes.
Is that the?
That's
is that-
absolutely the recommendation. We don't want anybody to have a baby with sickle cell disease by accident, only by choice when you know what all your options are.
Right.
And it's great that you're doing this because as I mentioned to you before, you have seen all kinds of diseases covered in the media, social media, but never sickle cell disease.
I was going to say, no one really writes or reports on television.
my theories about
this.
that, but I'll just leave
Well,
that
I mean,
alone.
it's the same thing we were talking about earlier.
Yes,
That
yeah,
that it's a black disease. Anastasia, I want to end with you. Talk about how you see your future and how you see this disease either affecting it or not affecting it. I mean, I think it's sort of important for you to put that in perspective.
Well, I see my future. I mean, I'm going to obviously struggle with this disease for the rest of my life. However, since I know what to do in certain circumstances. When I am in pain, I know how to take care of myself. I know what health benefits to like keep doing and what helps me, what doesn't help me. So I think another myth is that like a lot of people die at an early age if they have sickle cell disease, and I don't plan on passing away anytime soon, obviously.
Yeah.
I continue to keep being in school and.
I was gonna say, talk about what you're doing. You're enrolled in college right now,
I am.
right?
I'm
What are you
enrolled
studying?
at Wayne State University, and I'm studying broadcast journalism.
Ah, well, you can come sit here, and I'll go sit there and be the guest.
Stephen, we've got to talk about the walk.
The walk,
Yeah,
right? Yes.
Okay, the high five ends in September. June 19th is World Sickle Cell Day, but September is Sickle Cell Awareness Month. And on September the 10th, Saturday, at the Museum for African American History, registration 9 o'clock, we're having a walk, a sickle cell high five awareness walk. And it's going to be a really great event. We're going to have face painting and balloon artists, and we're going to walk around the museum. We're going to feed you lunch, and it's going to be a really wonderful awareness raising event.
Yeah, yeah. So you guys got a lot planned.
Lot planned. Yes.
All as an attempt to raise awareness and let people know that if you're living
Yeah.
with sickle cell disease, it's not a death sentence, and you can live a relatively normal life.
Yeah, and the awareness part. I mean, that's the
very
thing,
important.
given
Yes.
how little people seem to know about
Yes.
it. All right, thank you all for being here, and good luck.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next on American Black Journal, the city of Pontiac returns to local control. I'll talk with the mayor about the current state of that city. But first, here's a look at some important moments in Detroit's Black history.
I'm Ken Coleman with a look back at African American life in Detroit. This week in 1938, Joe Louis knocked out Max Schmeling in their historic heavyweight boxing match. In 1949, the Flame Show Bar opened at John R. and Canfield Streets. And in 1971, Michael Jackson cut the lead vocal for Got to Be There. These are significant events this week in Detroit's Black history, taken from the book On This Day, African American Life in Detroit.
Deirdre Waterman is a history maker here in Michigan. She was the first African-American female ophthalmologist in the state, and in 2013, she became the first woman elected as mayor of Pontiac. Just a couple of months ago, control of the city was returned to the mayor and the city council after years of being under emergency management. Joining me now is Pontiac Mayor Deirdre Waterman. Welcome to American Black Journal.
So good to be here with you, Stephen. Thank
Yeah.
you for this opportunity.
So that's a big deal. Local control restored in Pontiac, but boy, a long saga under emergency management. Several different emergency managers were involved. Lots of conflict over how to right the city's finances. Talk about where you sit now, trying to sort of take control of that again and move the city forward.
Yes, well, that's you highlighted the saga of Pontiac over the 9 years, but I'm here to
Was
tell
it
you
9 years? Wow.
9
Yeah,
long years,
yeah.
brutal years,
Yeah.
right? We have emerged from that as a city, as I say, leaner, meaner, and wiser from what we had gone through,
Yeah.
but also resolute to restore the city. And I'm here to tell you today that the spirit of Pontiac, the term that we've coined through my transition, that the spirit of Pontiac is alive and well in the city of Pontiac.
Yeah.
So that is great.
I mean, this is a place that's lost a lot of population, lost a lot of jobs, and then under emergency management saw some of the guts of the city sort of unraveled. Sale of important assets, cuts in the number of employees and things like that. So what's the future look like? What's the basis for growing Pontiac again?
Well, the future is through economic development and community development, one and both the same. Not only do we want to bring businesses back to become business friendly, we've restored a lot of best business practices, and we now have a lot of businesses that are coming back. We've diversified our economy. That was what was a problem with Pontiac before, where we relied upon one industry.
Yeah.
And when they had problems, then as we know, a lot of cities along the I-75 corridor were adversely affected, and Pontiac was one of those.
Yeah.
But we've diversified in sending out the welcome mat and have also offered amenities that will bring businesses back to the city. When businesses come in, they also want a place for their employees to be able to shop, to be able to have lunch, to be able to have coffee, business meetings, to offer other ancillary services. So we're building that in the city of Pontiac, and we're doing that in such a way now that I've had to sharpen my ribbon cutting shears as I cut the red ribbon. And
Yeah.
we're happy for the fact that not only retail, but also commercially, we're bringing in new businesses. And a lot of the old properties that were left when General Motors retrenched, those were sitting fallow for about 8 years. In the last year and a half, we have sold off all but one now, where industries are coming back to the city of
To
Pontiac.
private
Absolutely.
private interests. Let's talk about partially how Pontiac got into the position it was, but also going forward, how that plays a role. I mean, state support for cities has been going down in the state since about 2000. I mean, about $6 billion in revenue sharing lost among cities. You also have county support in Oakland County has always seemed very sketchy around the city of Pontiac. Now we can talk for hours probably about why that's true, but do you worry about the city getting back into the same trouble it had before because those things haven't changed? No matter what you do, you still have this state that is not supporting cities the way it used to. You still have a county that sort of acts like Pontiac is somewhere else.
Well, the reality of the situation is that we know what the reality is. It is what it is. So we deal with that and we turn to work with it. One of the things that we have done is to build partnerships and to build support. And I know we are the county seat of Oakland County.
Right.
And so I have reached out and have worked with the county, Brooks Patterson and others, to make sure that we had our services supported, as well as the other kinds of projects that we needed to get done. For example, with the county, we worked through an EDA grant. We needed an economic development plan for the city because we had none. There was no vision about where the city was going to go after the emergency manager. So that is now done, as well as we've highlighted a lot of the things we need to do to have a consensus vision for the citizens. So we knew where we were going and what we wanted to be as a city. So that has been done in conjunction with Oakland County and it's with other partners. We have a number of commercial partners out there who are ready to announce very shortly, as well as Oakland University, which is a very strong partnership now in its second year with President Dr. George Hind. So we have 32 initiatives now that Oakland University is supporting for us in terms of everything from early childhood education to a parent university to camps. We have a fine arts camp and a business camp and a math camp now that's going on at Oakland University. So there are ways that we build capacity in the city. One of the realities for me as mayor is that different emergency managers handled their city's economic crisis in various ways. In our city, we were outsourced and downsized. So before our emergency manager left, as compared to 9 years ago when we had 500 city employees, they downsized and outsourced so much that now I have 32 employees to run the city. So that's a modicum of efficiency and go-to-itiveness and resilience that makes us be able to continue on, because that's not just cutting the fat in the surplus. That was actually cutting into the bone and cutting into the marrow.
And
yes.
you had to cut services in addition, correct?
Well, people have expectations. We want to have a community that people want to live in, so we have to continue the services. And that is what people expect. We want to have the kind of amenities that people choose Pontiac to live, that businesses choose to come to Pontiac. So that is an important role
Trying to protect
of the mayor,
the
and elected
services.
officials, to protect that and to make it work regardless. So that's what we're doing, and we're doing that by building capacity, by reaching out, having partnerships, by forging alliances, by bringing in other interested angels for the city who work to help to restore and help us maintain the kind of quality of life and amenity that we want to see in Pontiac. That's the new narrative that we have in Pontiac.
We've got about a minute left. I know you have a big day coming up in Pontiac.
Yeah,
you want to talk about that?
We have a citywide block party. We have a meet up and eat up program in which we have summer lunch programs for our kids. We want to restore the ideas of healthy lifestyles and eating and nutrition and youthful activities. So we're going to have a big day, and I decided to make that a real give back opportunity so we can celebrate what everyday citizens have gone through. And we're going to have not only the meet up and eat up and the fun and the games for the kids on June 25th at Aaron Perry Park, but we're also going to have a Unity in the Community concert. And we're bringing in some stars, including Namita Hedden and Karima and Pastor Derek Rutley. And then DMK, which recently was on Empire. A lot of the kids who watch Empire have seen that. So they told me I had to get my face painted and I had to be part of the whole celebration. But that's just a feel-good day for the city of Pontiac. And then we're getting ready for Dream Cruise too, and we've got Dream Cruise coming into Pontiac. We're going to manage it in a great way because we've got some exciting events, including drag racing on Woodward. Not
legal drag racing.
Not the kind where the sheriff will stop you, but the kind where they have legal drag racing. So it's going to bring thousands of people to see what's new in Pontiac. And we're calling it Pontiac Power Week. There's a whole week of activities.
That's cool.
We got our logo, and we're going to be geared up to go. So come on up and see us. We're going to have a great time.
All right. Well, good luck to you in the future. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All this year, the media partners in the Detroit Journalism Cooperative are looking at whether social and economic conditions have improved in Detroit since the 1967 riots. The group recently launched the third installment of this project, focusing on poverty as a pathway to prison. Detroit Public Television examined the topic through the eyes of an ex-prisoner.
These are the same streets he walked as a youngster. But for 43-year-old Yusuf Bunchy Shakur, the path he now walks is quite different.
My success story is a reflection of my community.
Growing up in an impoverished community, witnessing violence, drugs, and lacking the basic human needs plays heavily on the psyche of a child, leading to depression, anxiety, and withdrawal.
These children are waking up. They may not have had anything to eat the night before, and there's a good chance that they won't have any breakfast. Some of these children are living in abandoned homes, or there are many abandoned homes on their blocks. It's a war zone. They're robbed, in essence, of their childhood.
If I'm sitting watching my mother, come home and she's barely keeping food on the refrigerator, she's barely able to feed or clothe us, that impacts me as a child.
Growing up without his father, who was later incarcerated, perpetuated that anger. He, like 5 million other children in the U.S., was living with a parent in prison. Yusuf was first kicked out of school in kindergarten. At the age of 9, he was arrested for breaking and entering, starting a pathway to prison.
A child who is born into a family with an incarcerated parent already starts life at a disadvantage. There are studies that show that a child with an incarcerated mother or father is going to experience more poverty than an average child. There are attachment issues that happen, and there's a lot of shame and stigma that's attached to having an incarcerated parent.
At the age of 13, Yusuf started the Zone 8 gang. By 15, he was thrown out of every public school in Detroit he attended.
Putting kids out of school and putting a scarlet letter on them at any age is not good. The street is not the education that you want them to have. The street is going to make it so that they are perhaps a better criminal.
That's what expulsion is for many of us. Like, what do I do next? Where do I go? I don't see no light no more. So, and the light that I see is drug selling, maybe prostitution, maybe killing. I mean, these are the roads. These are the alternatives.
By 19, following in his father's footsteps, he would join the 2.3 million Americans in prison, serving his own 9-year sentence in a maximum security facility.
So you see that kind of like this pipeline, right, that goes from poverty to incarceration of a parent, to stigmatization of a child being put in an out-of-home placement. Child gets in trouble, gets into the juvenile justice system, and then pipelines into the adult justice system.
It was here where his life was changed by another inmate at the Alger Corrections Facility. It was here where, at the age of 20, that Yusuf met his father for the first time.
And that relationship that we developed in prison had a tremendous impact on my redeeming and transforming my life.
This is where Yusuf's path changed. 95% of prisoners will return to the public, on average over 10,000 every week. For those that don't develop skills, they will join the 2/3 that experience the pipeline of perpetual prison.
You're trying to re-enter society, you want to get a job, you want to get housing, and you're stymied at every turn. So you're setting people up then to fail. You're setting them up to be caught up into the system again and again and again.
sending many back to the streets doing the exact same thing that got them incarcerated in the first place. Yusuf was able to see the deeper seismic results of poverty, violence, and drugs that perpetuates this cycle.
How many lives do we destroy? How much dope do we have to sell? So in selling dope, how many mothers do we've hurt? How many fathers we've killed or sent off to prison? Now the children have no mother, has no father. That's the cycle of poverty. This is how poverty is destroying black families, destroying black communities.
It is that raw emotion that leads Yusuf to become a pillar of the community by opening up a bookstore, community center, and organize free backpack giveaways in his community.
So we rose above poverty. Even though we're in poverty, we rose above it because of our love, because of our commitment.
And get back on the right path, walking redemption road. There are days I feel like giving up.
That's our program for today. Thanks for watching. You can get more information about our guests at AmericanBlackJournal.org. Plus, you can connect with us on Facebook and on Twitter and hear our program on 1019 FM. We'll see you next time.